this very white box that you see here contains the Potensic Atom 2 drone. It is a small camera drone, a mini drone that has been on the market for some time. However, Potensic have released an updated package that includes an all-new all-in-one remote controller. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be giving you an overview of the Potensic Atom 2, as well as this new all-in-one remote that they've included. We're going to get it out in the field, give you an overview of what it can do, and then at the very end, I'm going to share with you my thoughts. Now, just before we get into this, I just need to be crystal clear in saying Potensic did reach out to me and sent me this drone to take a look at for free. However, they have not paid me to make this video. As always in my content, my thoughts are entirely my own. I'm never influenced by any brand that I receive products from. Anyway, let's get on with it and let's take a look at what you get in this new kit. So here it is, the Potensic Atom 2. Now, I'm not going to waste too much time in this video doing an unboxing. I am going to give you a quick look at what you get inside, but I'm not going to get into every individual detail. When you open up the box, inside you will find this nice carry case. This is housing everything included in the kit, and it makes a nice carry case whilst out in the field. Inside, you will find a 3-way battery charger for the Potensic Atom 2. We have the new all-in-one remote controller, as well as the drone itself tucked away in this little cavity. Then at the top, you will also find a mains adapter for the included battery charger, as well as some additional cables and accessories. Starting with the Atom 2 drone itself, it is a mini drone, very similar to the likes of the mini series from DJI. They say it weighs 249 grams, and overall it's a very similar drone to the likes of the DJI Mini 2 series. This drone is folding, as you can see, so it has its arms on the front and back, which fold out to make it easy to carry around, and then fold out nice and easily with folding props, allowing you to get it quickly in the air. With regards to the main specs on this drone, it is a fully fledged camera drone. So it has a 4K Sony CMOS sensor up front, supporting up to 4K 30 frames a second recording, 2.7K 30, or up to 1080p 60. That sensor is a 1/2-inch Sony CMOS sensor coupled to an f1.8 lens that records in either H.264 or H.265 up to 80 megabits a second bitrate on the SD card that you place in the back. Stills wise, it supports JPEG up to 12 megapixel as standard or 48 megapixel in quad Bayer mode, and it supports RAW as well, and it also includes additional shooting modes, including bracketed, burst modes, interval modes, panorama, and vertical shooting modes. This drone does also support HDR as well as P-Log, which is their built-in log profile, allowing you to easily grade your footage. This drone does have GPS built in, supporting the 4 main systems: GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, and Beidou, and it also has optical flow as well, allowing it precision hover and landing. There is no object sensors on this drone, so whilst it does have this little window at the front, that's just a piece of finishing plastic. There are no object sensors or cameras on this drone, but it does have some built-in AI functionality with regards to tracking and the smart modes, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on. Looking around the drone, you can see that it has an SD card slot on the back. There is a USB-C port mounted to the battery itself. These drones are fitted with 2S batteries, which they say allow up to 32 minutes of flight time. They are lithium-ion batteries with a capacity of 2230 milliamp hour or 17.18 watt hour. What's nice about these batteries is that they do have that USB-C port on them, which allows you to charge them directly, but you can also charge them via their charge hub, which they have included with the kit as well. Now, with regards to the fit and finish on the drone and anything else externally, there isn't really a great deal to show you. As I've said, there's no external ports on this drone. The USB port is part of the battery. You've then got the power button on the bottom, which is built into the drone itself with LED indications. We've got that 3-axis gimbal up front, mounted on some rubber isolators. Motors appear to be painted metal. I don't think they are machined aluminium. And then the props are just held in place with a screw on each one. Props are quite flexible, so they should hold up quite well. And then you can see that the motors are mounted on the arm itself, and then the wiring goes through down there into the frame. Plastics feel quite nice on the drone. They don't actually feel as cheap or as thin as I have felt on some of the others. The arms are actually quite solid. It's a nice feel to the spring action on that. Quite a good spring on that too. You can't really twist them. Honestly, the overall feel to the drone, it's quite good. Again, it's certainly not the worst that I've ever felt out there. You've then got these legs that stick out. I suspect our wireless transmission antennas are in them at the front. You can see some little stickers underneath each one just to keep the weight down. Little legs on the back. Overall, I have to say, from a build quality perspective, it feels okay. Alongside the Atom 2, we also have their brand new PTD remote controller. This is an all-in-one remote with a built-in smart device in the middle. You can see it features a nice large 5.5-inch 1080p touch display. It is based around the Rockchip RK3558, which runs up to 2.4 gigahertz. It has 32 gigs of onboard storing, GPS built in, Wi-Fi built in, as well as the Potensic 4 system that communicates with the drone itself. This remote features a 6,400 milliamp hour battery, which they say should give you about 3 hours of use, and you can fast charge the remote up to 90% in about 1 hour and 25 minutes. With regards to its buttons and its functionality, you can see on the front we've got 2 gimbals. I believe these are potentiometer gimbals. We have our power button for tuning the remote on and off into standby, as well as actually powering it down. We have our home point button, and then on the top you will find our additional controls such as our C1 and C2 programmable buttons. We've got 2 wheels for our gimbal, and then we have our record as well as our still shutter button. Flipping up to the bottom, you will find an SD card slot, a USB-C port for charging. There are 2 quarter-20s on the bottom as well. And then flipping it around the back, you will see that there are 2 places for you to store the gimbal sticks, which will simply screw off. You've got a cooling fan area down here, and then on the remote controller you've got these nice rubberized handles on either side, helping you to give you some grip with it located in your hands. On the top you will also see that there are 2 built-in antennas. These are articulating. They allow you to fold them up as well as fold them out. As I mentioned, this uses the Potensic 4.0 wireless communication system. It doesn't use Wi-Fi. It is a customized link that transmits your video to your remote at up to 1080p 30 frames a second. It works on the 2.4 gigahertz band, and they say offers range of up to 10 kilometers. The spec also says it has a maximum latency of around 120 milliseconds, and we'll be taking a look at how this wireless link performs when we get the system in the air later on. Included with the kit that I received, we also have this charge hub. This allows you to charge all 3 batteries at the same time, and they say you can do a 3-pack charge in about 1.3 hours. This hub simply allows you to plug the batteries in. You can see there's LED indicators on the front giving you the current charge status. There is a built-in power button as well as some I/O on the side over here. We have a DC input port as well as a USB-A output port, allowing you to charge the remote controller. Unfortunately, this hub does have one downside, and that is that it doesn't have a USB-C input. It needs to be used with the included mains adapter for charging the batteries, which means it isn't really going to be usable in the field unless you have an inverter. Unfortunately, before you can use this drone and remote, you will need to activate it. You will need to create an account with Potensic, either with an email address or phone number, and then you can activate both the drone and the remote controller. Once activation is complete, you are then ready to connect to the drone. Now, everything here should be very familiar if you've used a drone before. We have our external controls, and then we have our touchscreen with all of the options on. We obviously have our sticks our return to home and our power button, our camera buttons on the corner. The left-hand wheel is our pitch up and down for the camera, and our right-hand wheel is our digital zoom function. Our C1 button is our gimbal center, so if you press it, it'll look down, it'll look back up to center, and then I can pitch it up. And our wheel on the right is our digital zoom, which will zoom in and out. Then on screen, we have all of our main flight control indicators along the top. We have our camera controls then down the side and along the bottom. For instance, at the moment, it's warning us that be caution because we've got no GPS. If we tap that, that'll bring up our return to home settings and options as well. Along the top, we've got our gimbal position indication. We've got our GPS information, and if you tap that, that'll bring up a little screen. You've got your remote information, so if you tap that, that'll actually bring up this little indicator of the signal level on the remote controller. We've then got our information such as our return to home time, about our battery and our flight usage. And then there are 3 dots that go into our main menu, which we'll take a look at in a minute. Down the side and along the bottom, we then have our main camera controls. So this button brings up our main camera settings. We're currently in photos mode, and under here we have things such as our single mode, bracketed, burst or 8K stills, and interval timer. If I switch that down to video, you will then see we have our shooting mode. So we have our slow motion, normal, AI night mode, as well as cine roll. And then we have a pano option below, which you can select once you're flying. Next button down brings us into our storage where we can see what we've recorded. And then along the bottom, you have your main camera controls, such as your auto controls, so auto or manual. And then you've got your ISO, your shutter, and your white balance controls available down there as well. In this bottom corner, you will also see that there's a map. This is a map of where you currently are. At the moment, I am indoors, which means it's not going to actually show my location. And then you have a couple of other options on the map available as well, such as default, satellite, and night mode. And then you've got your compass option, as well as your marker option there. There's also a Find My Drone feature, and you even have the option to tell the drone to start beeping, as you can hear there, to try and help you locate the drone in the event of it going missing. Moving over to the main menu options, under here you will have the main controls for the drone itself. So for instance, we have safety, calibration, control, camera, video transmission, and about. Under safety, this has your return to home settings, your beginner mode settings, what to do in the event of signal loss, dynamic home point, silent return. All the features you may have seen on other drones, including things such as your maximum distance, your maximum flight altitude, your units, your safety tips, take off with one hand, and your emergency stop and remote ID options. We then have our calibrate option, so calibrate the compass, the gimbal fine tuning, the remote controller calibration, or repair the drone. We have control options, so we have our stick modes, our built-in overview of the remote controller, our button customization for our buttons on the top corners. So if you want to change them, you can. We have our camera options, again, giving us more control over the camera than you had on the front. So your white balance, your grid options, your color modes, your video codec options, as well as your saturation and other options down there. Auto target, defog mode, video subtitles, etc. We have our video transmission settings, again, allowing us to see what's going on with the built-in wireless system. And then finally, we've got our about screen. On the main device itself, it also has its built-in controls. If you swipe down from the top, you can bring up the main control menu. Here you can turn on and off the Wi-Fi, airplane mode, take screenshots, screen record, and then you've got your main settings, brightness, and volume controls. Under main settings, a lot of what you saw there is mirrored. So you've got your Wi-Fi options, you've got your storage information, so it'll tell you what's going on here. You've got your RC compass calibration. You can actually calibrate the compass that is built into it, and it may warn you about doing that sometimes. You've then got your main system settings, which is simply language, date, and reset options. And then you've got your certification information. Another nice feature on this drone is the fact that it does have configurable modes. You can select the mode from the C button on the remote, but you can also access them up here. I can't select them right now because I don't have GPS coverage, but you can see we have video, normal and sport modes. You can actually configure these from within the settings menu. You go down to control, go down to control stick sensitivity, and under here you can adjust the expo settings for each of these modes. So you can click here, you can see we've got normal, so we've got those settings there, video, as well as sport, and you can control the expo or how sensitive or aggressive the drone is to your stick inputs. So the next thing to do is get the drone in the air. We took it down the beach for a day to have a play with not only how the drone performs, but have some time on this new remote controller as well to see what it's like. Okay, so what I just want to do is demonstrate some of the features on this drone. So we're currently just hovering here. What we're going to do is go for a little flight. We're going to start recording, and then we're going to go for a little flight along the beach. Now, I'm currently in video mode. As I mentioned earlier, there are 3 programmable modes, and the nice thing about each of these is you can set different speeds for each of the modes, so you can dial them back. Think of them like control presets, and it's a nice little feature that allows us to take some nice footage, slow the aircraft down. What I'm going to do now is just move across to here. Oh God, birds. Disturbed a few there. And then what I'm going to do is just fly along the waterline whilst recording nice and slowly. I always like to sort of capture footage like this when I'm down the beach, sort of mark the areas where the tide is coming in, having it rolling over. Another one I also like to do when we're in a place like this is make the camera look straight down. Usually you need a bit more altitude for this. Trying to line up is always a bit of a challenge. Let's just get a bit more, and then sort of film moving forward as the tide is coming in. Again, it just gives some nice shots from that built-in camera. Now, another feature on this drone is the built-in zoom. So we have digital zoom available on this as well. So if I just spin around and rotate back to this way, you will see that there's a boat over there on the horizon, just down the beach there. So what I want to do is just demonstrate that digital zoom. So that is up to 2 times digital zoom on the knob. So out to 1, into 2. That is the standard zoom that is available. Obviously, you can zoom it further in post as well if you want to. Obviously, we have auto exposure available on this drone as well. So I zoomed in and out. The exposure is actually shifting. But what we can do is tap on it there, tap the little button, and then lock that exposure. So that way it's not going to change. So we can, there we go. That's locked. And then I can just demo that zoom in and out just like that. We then have all of the nice smart features on this drone. Now, you've got one which I think is really quite cool, and I'm going to show you it now. I have, though, found a little bit of a quirk to it, and that is I don't think you can do it when your altitude is lower than your takeoff altitude. Because I've taken off a little bit higher here from the higher ground of the beach, I don't know if we're going to be able to demo it in this. I might have to gain altitude, but let me go down. But this feature is called Cine Roll. And I think this is really cool because what it will do is automatically move the drone forward and capture video. And just to show you what I mean, we're just going to go there, click go. Yeah, see, it doesn't like it if you're below the altitude of takeoff, which is a bit of a shame, actually. So instead of doing it that way, I'm going to rotate around and we will do it this way over here. And just to give you an idea what this feature does, so we're going to go there, click go. And what it's going to do is fly forward automatically and then rotate the camera as it does it. Obviously, it is doing this in sensor, and as a result of that, the image quality is not going to be the same as if you were doing this in, say, a full 360-degree gimbal itself. It's almost digitally rolling the image is the term I'll use. So you're going to see a reduction in quality compared to using the full sensor. You can actually see that it cropped in when I selected that mode, but it is still quite a cool little feature. I want to try it at low level above the water, but I'm going to have to change my takeoff point to be able to do that, to demonstrate it. So there we've got that, which has now completed, and what it's going to do is then return back to the original point it started at. So it always returns back to the point it was at. Okay, so I just want to demonstrate that orbit roll again. This time I've taken off lower down towards the water. Again, we still have to be a minimum of 4 meters above the water to be able to use this, but I just wanted to demonstrate it again. Now I've been able to get a bit lower altitude on the aircraft. Next, I'm going to demonstrate some of the smart features. Now, to do this, you simply drag a square over the object on the screen. It'll lock on to me, and you can see we've got AI track and AI quick shot options. So on the track, we've got parallel, spotlight, and follow. So for instance, we're in spotlight. So if I just walk off, what it will do is keep me in view, not move the aircraft horizontally or vertically, just yaw the aircraft to make sure I remain tracked in view. We've then got the parallel follow option, which is available as well. So this will track us from the side. So here it gives us a warning that the gimbal needs to be somewhere between -75 and -25. So at the moment you can see our gimbal angle is -13. So we probably need a little bit more altitude to do this. There we go. We can probably come out a little bit further as well. It doesn't want to allow you to do these too low from the look of it. So we're going to need a bit more gimbal angle there. Let's go to 30. Click go. And you can now see that we're in the parallel mode. And it's then just going to track me from the side. Something to note on this is you do need some altitude on these modes. You're not able to do them in close quarters as far as I've been able to tell so far, but there you can see it's maintaining a follow of me from the side. So we can now exit that. If I draw around me again, we've then got the follow mode, which again is behind me. If I click go, and what it's going to do then is move to follow me from behind as I walk up the beach. As I was side on, it's going to sort of try to reorient itself before it follows me. Oh, it's lost me. I think it could do with being a bit more. You need a little bit too much altitude, in my opinion, to be able to do it. I would rather to be able to track with this a lot lower down to be able to get some more nice close-up shots. But what you can see is that it does offer those tracking options. Alongside this, we also then have the AI quick shots. So we have pull away, rocket, and circle. So I'm going to go for circle first of all. So this is going to do an orbit around me. So I'm just going to turn off the instructions. You can set the direction, so counterclockwise or counterclockwise, and then how many orbits you want it to do. I'm going to select 2, click go, and then it's going to enable that orbit mode, and then it's simply going to rotate around me. I set it to 2 because you often find when doing modes like this, the first one isn't actually particularly good because the first one includes the initial start movement. So one piece of advice I would give is, if you are going to do something like this, do a dual orbit. That way you should get one good full rotation. I'm just going to try lowering the altitude and doing it again, because what I'd like to do, I'd like to see that beach a bit more in the shot behind me. Let's see if it'll let us do it. So let's go AI quick shot, circle. We'll leave it at 1 this time. Yeah, that's a bit better. Doesn't allow you to adjust the gimbal angle whilst it's doing it, but with a bit of a lower altitude there, you're now able to see a bit more of the scenery. People like to do shots like this when they're standing on top of a mountain or something like that. But again, they're always nice shots to have these, especially with a bit of a walk as well, as you can see there. We then also have our pull away and our rocket. So for instance, our pull away shot is going to do 30 meters. If we just turn that on, and what that's just going to do is pull away and gain altitude at the same time. Pretty standard from what we've seen with most drones these days, but it just gives us that nice shot to give you a reveal of the area around you. So again, you find people will do this very close up while standing on a hillside, something like that. And then it does that nice big reveal. And then you've got the rocket, which does something very similar, but rather than it being a pull out, it's a pull up, which we will enable now once it's returned. There we go. I'd walk towards it so it had returned into a slightly different position. And then we'll do the quick shots to the pull away up, 30 meters. And what it's going to do now is a pull up and a look down at the same time, again to give you a bit of a reveal of the area around you from a vertical perspective. Alongside all the AI shots, you then have the modes available within the camera. So if we go up to filming, we've got that Cine roll, which I showed you earlier, which I really like. And then under the pano option, you've got the built-in pano feature where you can do things such as a 180, a vertical, a wide angle, or a 360 sphere, which I'm going to select next. So again, what you can do is put the drone into a position and then tell it to capture a 360 sphere, which you can then use in applications like AR goggles. The DJI goggles will use this, but you can also use it in things like the Meta goggles as well, depending on how you format the image. Obviously, the auto exposure is going to kick into this depending on what you've got it set to. The light down here today is really quite extreme. It's either very bright up at the sky in the sun, or it's very dark down on the ground level. So this is obviously going to have an impact on how the footage comes out. Next, I just want to show you the return to home and give you a bit of an overview of the accuracy. Here we're going to take off from the bench. We actually do this twice, and I'll give you an overview of how close it gets on landing. But I then also try the tracking in the remote controller with its built-in GPS to see how accurate that is with a dynamic home point. As you can see from these two tests, it isn't absolutely perfect. The first time it was about 2 meters out, and the second time it was a little less at about 1 meter. Then we're going to move on to testing the dynamic home point feature. This is where the home point is based on the GPS location of the remote controller, and here you will see how well that performs. Now, before I get on to sharing with you my thoughts and opinions on the Potensic Atom 2 and especially their new remote controller, I just want to leave you with a little bit of footage that I was able to record on this drone to give you an idea of the kind of results that you can get. Now at this point we should discuss pricing, because I've been told there's going to be 3 versions available. There is a standard version, which is the drone and the screen controller. That is going to be available in Europe for €459.99. You're then going to have the combo version, like I've showed you here today, which is €579.99. And then you've got the single screen remote on its own, which is going to be available for €279.99. So if you're someone who's already got the Potensic Atom 2, you can go out and get yourself this screen remote for just under €280. Overall, I think there's a nice set of options with these kits, and I think most people are going to want to go for the kit, the combo version, for $579.99, because that's going to give you your extra batteries, your accessories, as I've shown you here today. Okay, now to share with you my thoughts on the Potensic Atom 2 and especially the new remote controller. Now, I'm not doing a direct comparison video here where we're going to look at it against other models. I don't actually have a drone in the same sort of class as this with regards to camera and everything. So instead what I'm going to do is just share with you my findings. Overall, I really quite like it. The drone itself is exactly doing what you would expect it to do. It isn't the best in the world. It isn't the worst in the world. Overall, the drone itself feels well made. The plastics don't feel too cheap. They don't feel too thin, although they're not too heavy, so it's affecting battery life. The quality of the build is decent. You're always going to have a drone like this that feels a little bit plasticky simply because of them trying to cut down on weight. Features-wise, it flies very well. In fact, I'm pleasantly surprised just how well it flies. It's a good flying camera drone. The camera does exactly what you would expect a camera of that size to do with the megapixel count, the lens. It's good enough for most people. It is never going to be an Inspire 3 or even like the Mini 5 Pro level right at the top end. It is on the level of the sensor. I have no complaints with the footage that I've got from this as well, and I've shared some of that with you, although YouTube has probably butchered it in compression. The smart features work well. The tracking, the orbit, a little bit of movement, a little bit of wobble in them here and there, but overall they're okay. I do like that digital roll feature as well. As you've seen, the return to home, the GPS performance, in flight, the GPS is absolutely solid, but the return to home isn't quite as accurate as I've seen on some other drones out there, although when using it with the remote, it's absolutely bang on. It just seemed to be the return to home on the takeoff point, and I did leave it plenty of time to not only get good sat count, but also have a view of it as I take off as well. With regards to the image quality on the live link, it's very good. I'm not going to sit here and talk about range tests because I don't do range tests here. We live in the UK where you can only fly so far. I have no major problems. I did get the odd, strange glitch every now and again in the video. It wasn't that it dropped completely. It was just like a glitch here and there. But other than that, the live view on here is fairly good. The latency is what you would expect from a camera drone as well. Really, from the drone's perspective, I have no complaints. Flight time, I was getting about 20 minutes on average, so 3 batteries is going to get you about an hour, which is quite good. Really, for me, the bit I really like isn't the drone itself, it's this remote, because I think they have done a fantastic job with this. Not only do I really like the ergonomics of having that screen in the middle with the joysticks, the screen is bright enough. I had no problems down the beach seeing the screen. It's got plenty of control buttons. Everything's easy to hand. And I just think this is sort of the party piece, the real nice part of this drone that finishes it off. The software is decent. It's very similar to what you might have seen from others. It's not particularly hard to use. It has everything you need. And I think they've done an amazing job of putting together an all-in-one remote for use with this drone. This is by far my favorite all-in-one remote that I have used on any brand. Its size is just nice. I like it longer than shorter than fatter, like you've seen from some of the other brands. Now, the only real thing that I would highlight on this, which I think from a design perspective could be better, is the fact that that 3 battery charger doesn't have USB support for charging. It needs a specific DC jack, which is a downside whilst out in the field because it means you have to have something to charge it by mains. You could make an adapter for it, but I would have much rathered the battery charger kept 3 batteries on charge via USB, although you can charge the batteries directly in the back of the drone one at a time. Other than that, overall, I think it is a good product. I have no reasons to not say if you've liked what you've seen, consider checking it out. And I think if you're looking to get yourself a drone that isn't the big 3-letter company, that has an all-in-one remote, they have really done a good job here. Honestly, genuinely, I really do like it. Okay, so that's pretty much it from me. I want to say a big thank you to Potensic for sending this one over. Finally, I just want to say if you've liked what you've seen, please do consider checking out my other videos on the channel, as well as the links to my Patreon, as well as buy me a coffee in the description. Look after yourself, stay safe, and I will speak to you soon.